Hello everyone, welcome to Questions Worth Pondering, where we pose questions related to current and historical events. I'm your host Nevs. Please be sure to give this video a like or a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it and it would help with getting the video out there to more people. Follow me on social media and support my work. All my links are at linktree/NevsTV. If you're joining on Rumble, a Rumble rant would be greatly appreciated, and I want to sincerely thank everyone who has supported my work so far. Now, let's get the show on the road, shall we?
Working in the lab late one night, when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from its slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise, he did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. He did the monster mash. From my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast, the ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrode. They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rocking, all were digging the sound. Igor on chains, backed by his baying hounds. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker 5. They played the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They played the monster mash. Out from its coffin Drac's voice did ring. Seems he was troubled by just one thing. Opened the lid and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?" It's now the monster mash, and it's a graveyard smash. It's caught on in a flash. It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool, Drac's a part of the band. When my monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them Boris sent you. Then you can monster mash and do my graveyard smash. You'll catch on in a flash. Then you can monster mash. Mash. Good. Easy, boy. You impetuous young boy. Mash.
Ooh, that's crazy. Okay, it's not Halloween. It's not Halloween, but I'll be talking about some Dr. Frankensteins tonight. Hey everyone, welcome to Questions Worth Pondering. I'm Nevs, your host. Today we're going to be talking about mad scientists. We're going to be diving into some of the wildest experiments in genetic engineering. So science, it's going to feel like some of these things come right out of a sci-fi movie. So we're going to delve into advancements in medical technology, and we'll be tying that to the spiritual battles that we face and we've been dealing with. And I mean, it, it touches into the very essence of humanity itself. Seriously. So, yeah, I have a little thumbnail for the show tonight. This is it. And I had AI create this for me because it just captures where we're at. I feel like we're at a crossroads between science and ethics, and between our spiritual values and opposing forces. That's how I feel. It's like, what does it mean to be human today? And I think we should talk about that. Not only that, I feel like this stuff needs to be exposed. There's some news that came out last week, and it sparked the idea for this show. Someone sent me an article, and there's news around genetic engineering, a couple of news stories that came out this year. So I wanted to talk about like what's been happening since, I don't know, the last 5 to 7 to 8 years, the advancements that have happened in genetic engineering. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So, all right, let me get into it and let me share I've got my screen shared. So let me start with my first. I have to get my bookmarks up on the screen. So I'm going to go through some of the crazy things that have been happening in medical science lately, just so I can get up to the point. I don't have an agenda today because my whole agenda is going through these things, but I'll have some final comments at the end. But the first thing I want to cover is artificial wombs. That's right, artificial wombs. So artificial wombs have been developed to grow fetuses outside the body. In 2023, researchers kept lamb fetuses alive in fluid-filled bags for weeks. And some people are saying, oh, well, this could save premature babies, or let people have kids without pregnancy. And they try to put out saying things are groundbreaking, but what does this mean for, if you hear anything, my dog is acting weird, sorry. But what does this mean for like the sacred bond of motherhood? Birth is a divine miracle. It's a miracle. And I don't know why my screen share went away. Anyway, so I wanted to know, like, are we trying to move away from that? And are we removing giving birth from what it means to be human? So, yeah, this is one thing, but related to this, they're also creating artificial placentas. And what the heck? I don't know. So this was a trial led by Spanish researchers, and they say they're hoping to help extremely premature babies survive outside the mother's womb. So that's the argument they give whenever they have crazy stuff that they do in the medical industry, or even just in society and culture itself. They spin it to have these nice things. I don't know what you guys think about this, because medical advancement is incredible. It is. But it's also, I think we have to think about our morals, our ethics, and just nature itself. Why are scientists and medical doctors trying to be God? So the video I played at the beginning of the show just made me think of Dr. Frankenstein with all these experiments on nature and trying to go against nature and trying to manipulate nature. Another thing related to this is scientists have, in 2023, they made embryo-like structures from the stem cells. And no sperm, no egg. All they did was reprogram cells to mimic early development. I don't know if you guys knew that this stuff was happening, but this happened in 2023. And they're saying that it could help us study miscarriages or birth defects without having to use real embryos, because they test on real embryos today. But they're trying to play God. So I don't know. Do they even think about like nature and creation itself? They're using stem cells to create embryos without any fertilization whatsoever. This one really surprised me. And this was just a couple of years ago. I'd love for you guys to put in comments if you've heard of some similar things like this or anything crazy like that. But yeah, embryos with no egg, synthetic. What would that mean? So if they're able to keep growing that embryo, and I don't know what they do today, if they try to destroy it or if they test it and then destroy it. But what if they let it keep going? What would happen? I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. Right now I'm talking a lot about babies and embryos and, fake wombs and that kind of stuff. But there are some real life things that they have done. And there was a Chinese doctor that got a ton of backlash because he did an experiment and it wasn't just a little test. It actually was real life. It had real life impacts because genetic testing was done on babies in the womb, and then those babies were born. Before I show that, just quick, hey, Carrie. Carrie says, genetic engineering treats life as something to be manipulated. It reduces life to a product. Exactly. It just is like, blows my mind, some of the things that I came up with that I found. Anyway, so this next one is gene-edited babies. So there is this Chinese scientist, and he said he was the first to create genetically modified babies using CRISPR, which is a technology used for a lot of this genetic engineering. And but basically, he was super proud of it. And there's a video of him bragging about what he did. But basically, what he wanted to do was, I don't know if they show it in here. Here it is. They performed gene surgery on embryos created from their parents' sperm and eggs to protect the children from HIV, which causes AIDS. The children's father is HIV positive. So he's got a YouTube video where he talks about that. I'm going to play it real quick.
You may wonder why we use the gene surgery to prevent HIV. Why not another lethal disease? 2 reasons. First, safety. Second, real-world medical value. As a scientist and the father of two girls. Safety is my number one concern above all else.
All in the name of safety. Does that sound familiar? What else has been done in the name of safety? And I'm not just talking about medical, although I would say they pushed the vaccine in order to protect people, but there is a chart that I should have brought that up. There is a chart that came out recently that shows, somebody put it in Telegram chat. I should try to find that and maybe upload it. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to scroll through and try to find it. But there is a chart that shows the number of people who die from specific diseases that we are protecting ourselves from with vaccines. You know, we've got the measles, the mumps, rubella, all of that. And then side by side with, here it is, and it's from Awesome. Okay, I'm going to download this and I'm going to share it. Because a lot of stuff is done in the name of safety. Okay, let me get back to the screen I'm sharing. All right, here it is. So you can see the risk of disease death. So like for diphtheria, it's 1 in 42 million. But the risk of vaccine death for diphtheria is less than 1 in 76,000. So the risk of dying from the vaccine is higher than the risk of dying from the disease. And it's for everything. Just the flu, the risk of dying from the flu is less than 1 in 135,905 people. But with the risk of the vaccine death from the flu is less than 1 in 15,702. That's huge. Anyway, I digressed. I went offbeat. We were watching this guy's video. I'm not going to play it, but
little Chinese girl named
but
Lulu and
let
Nana.
me pause him. I went to his channel. He has over 4,000 subscribers, and he hasn't created videos since. He got all this backlash when he went in and did this. And there's whole write-ups, and there was an investigation as to the ethics behind this by testing on humans without, without making sure it was safe before you did it. And now some labs are exploring gene editing in babies even to prevent diseases like Alzheimer's. They want to be able to enhance traits like intelligence. So, yeah, they're just kind of tampering with our human blueprint there. So, I feel like, eventually they're going to try to make us all the same, and we're all unique. And not every one of us is intelligent. Not every one of us is gorgeous and beautiful. Some of us are just plain, normal. Or not all of us are tall. Like I'm short, But I feel like designer babies, we heard that coming for a while, but I feel like that's underway, if you will. All right, so the next one that I'm going to cover is, have you heard of de-extinction efforts? Let's talk about de-extinction. So this company is called Colossal. And there are many like this company. and they have they're a bioscience company, and they're using CRISPR technology to bring back extinct species. So, like dodos, woolly mammoths, they're editing the DNA of living relatives to try to bring back extinct species. And their thing is the same. Their reasoning behind this is we have endangered species. We could save that species through this technology. So in 2024, they made elephant stem cells, and that was one step towards creating mammoth embryos. And they actually have like mammoth tissue that they could use. And I don't know if they're using that to try to do this. But their argument is they want to restore ecosystems. Like we have a current ecosystem now, and animals go extinct. You know, humans might go extinct one day. And, but that's all about God's plan. And there's a reason for that. Things happen, you know, whether it's a natural disaster or God creating a flood on the earth with Noah's flood or different things like that. But what will prevent them from trying to bring dinosaurs back? Remember Jurassic Park? We just thought, oh, that's science fiction. They would never do that. But they're doing that. That's what they would be doing with the mammoth. They're a lot larger than elephants. They're furry. They have long tusks. We have no idea because there's no historical documentation of what their behavior is like. Like elephants, we know elephants are very calm and sweet and peaceful, except for when you piss them off. But we're kind of defying the natural cycle of life, you know. Anyway, science calls these a victory, and I just don't like them messing with nature. They think they're gods, and that's exactly what they're doing. So, do you remember a long time ago that they were doing hybrids with animals, and they have been successful in creating hybrids? But, you know, God's perfect design is very interesting because hybrid animals are infertile. Isn't that interesting? They are completely infertile. So remember when they created the liger? That is one hybrid animal that exists today that they were successful in creating as a hybrid. But have you heard of myth and legend chimeras? You know, the mix of animals, that's not really a hybrid. A chimera is more of it actually is two animals in one. We think of chimeras as myth and legend, right? Well, guess what? Guess what? There is, scientists are using stem cells to grow human organs inside animals like pigs. So they're growing like human kidneys inside a pig's body in order to be able to transplant and have organ harvesting. So in 2024, researchers made pig embryos with human kidney-like structures. Apparently because there are organ shortages. Now, you know, we we used to say that a lot of the medical experiments, like doing hybrids and stuff like that, were getting close to the border of being immoral or unethical. But I think with everything they're doing today and experimenting with today, I think it's way beyond that. Way beyond that. I mean, you create a pig embryo that has human kidney. What if human cells, because there's human cells in that, what if those human cells end up in the animal's brain? Like, is it possible they could blur the line between species so that that pig could be literally part human and part pig? Could it end up, if there are human cells that go into where the brain develops, could it develop a human brain? You know? I mean, I know that's crazy to say. I know it's super crazy to say. But I think they've just gone beyond what it means to be ethical and moral. It's just crazy. I don't know. It's just crazy to me. So I just need to find something really quick. Okay. I think I found it. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, this is crazy, you guys. Okay. The last two things that I'm going to bring up here before I put my thoughts in there about some of this stuff is this year, 2025, Chinese, again, this is China. It's China. Chinese researchers grew mini brains from human cells and connected them to robots. So they're calling them organoids, and they're letting these organoids control basic movements like avoiding obstacles. Now, what they're saying is that I'm going to play this video. Mario Newfall just posted this. When did he post this? Just a couple days ago, May 4th. But they're saying, this could revolutionize brain-computer interfaces and help us understand brain diseases. But they're also saying these work faster than AI for machine learning. But if it's literally like human cells used to create a mini brain, isn't it a human brain? Is it possible that these mini brains could become conscious? So let me read his post really quick here. Chinese scientists, here I'll make it bigger so you guys can see it better. Chinese scientists grew a cerebral organoid, a mini brain, made from human stem cells and connected it to a robot. Not just for show, the brainlet controls physical movement, dodges obstacles, grabs objects, and even shows signs of synaptic plasticity, meaning it can learn and adapt based on experience. This is just crazy. They embedded it into a brain on chip system, combining neural tissue with silicon circuitry, essentially a hybrid bio-digital processor. And he says this could revolutionize neuroscience, drug testing, and AI development. But it also drags us straight into Blade Runner territory. Isn't that the truth? Machines that don't simulate thought actually have it. Could these become sentient? The ethical red flags are everywhere. What counts as consciousness? Where's the line between tool and entity? Are we growing minds to serve machines? Cool? Yes. Chilling? Also yes. Source from Future Now Show. So I'm going to play this video.
Or quote,
I got to rewind it. Let's watch this.
this robot is powered by lab-grown human brain cells. Chinese researchers have developed this brain-on-chip technology called MetaBOC. Researchers say that their tiny lab-grown brain could learn tasks faster than current AI models. They say it uses much less energy than AI, which needs a lot of power and data to learn. These brain cells also show more, quote, intuition and creativity than AI, learning with fewer examples. Could this be because some aspect of the human spirit is locked in these brain cells? And is there any moral issue with using human brain cells and possibly the human soul to power robots to perform slave-like behavior?
What is my purpose?
You pass butter.
Oh my god.
This robot is powered by lab-grown human brain cells. Chinese
It started over. Isn't that crazy? That is so crazy. Carrie says, I know what you mean here. The end doesn't justify the means. God gave mankind stewardship over creation, not the authority to redefine it. They try to justify questionable practices, claiming it's for the greater good. Exactly. I knew you meant the ends don't justify the means. Yes, and that's exactly what they say. They say the benefits are incredible. But here's what I don't see when I see experimentation like this. And I think there was something recently too about that. But basically, they experiment, but they don't think about the risks. Or at least we don't hear about potential risks when they're doing these experiments. So I actually talked about that when I had the show, which I still need to do follow-up on. I had the show about how they sprayed a bioweapon, the Army, Navy, military sprayed biological, what was it, bacteria into the San Francisco harbor to test to see how far these particles could go. And they were testing because they were wanting to know if it was, I believe it was right after Pearl Harbor. They were wanting to know if Japan had ships out at sea and they tried to do biological warfare, would it succeed? And unfortunately, their test showed that it would succeed and a bunch of people got sick. So this is the same thing to me. Like, as they're doing these crazy experiments, do they not realize what could come of these? And that's the thing that concerns me. So I feel like the same is true with this genetic engineering. And I've got one more here. And this one, I'm going to go through. Actually, I'm going to talk about a couple of articles where the original article stemmed from, but there's an MIT technology review article, and this came out this year as well. So hang on, let me just get this set up. All right, guys. So we've heard about chimeras and brain organoids. But have you ever heard of bodyoids? Yeah, I said that right. It's bodyoids. All right. Let's find out what bodyoids are. This is crazy. This is an article about creating human bodies for organ harvesting, but creating human bodies without brains. It's funny because I was looking into this, and there are people who have commented on social media. MSM isn't mentioning this story, and it's not widely known, and there's no peer review studies on it. And I'm like, MIT is the one doing this, and they put an article out about it. So here's what they're saying. They're saying they only talk about the benefits. Human bodyoids could reduce animal testing, improve drug development, and alleviate organ shortages. They want to literally create humans without brains. And they said, even if it all works, it may not be practical or economical to grow bodyoids. They're calling them bodyoids. For many years, until they can mature enough to be useful to our ends. This just sounds so dystopian. This is crazy. And but that is what they're doing. They at least do talk about ethical considerations, but the fact that this is what they're looking into, it's being studied, it's being researched, it's being considered, it's just wild. Human bodies grown without brains, just to harvest organs or test for drugs. Yeah. Doesn't that sound great on paper? Like, let's reduce animal testing. Let's have something where we can test on drugs without harming any animals or people. We have organ shortages. People need organs or they're going to die. So, yeah. So are we turning human bodies into mere products, just like Carrie said? I mean, that's what's happening. And this is why I said, like, this is related to spiritual warfare that we're in. I feel like this is a part of the greater picture of the spiritual warfare. But before I get into additional comments, so this was linked to from our breakpoint.org article. So I've brought these up before, and they're the ones who called this out April 28th. So this was just at the end of April that they called this out. And so I highly recommend that. I'm not going to read this whole article, but there was a part, and I meant to highlight it. Yeah, they talk at the beginning about stuff I've already talked about. But they say here, I'm like, yeah, these things remind me of a sci-fi movie. Yes, movies have been made to warn us against this kind of thing. So there was The Island. I haven't seen The Island. Have you guys seen The Island? And maybe, I don't know if there's other movies you want to think about that are related to this, but the plot of this is about clones grown in a sealed off community so customers in the real world can harvest their organs. So is this predictive programming? Is this a warning to us? Anyway, in that field, the moral conflict comes when the bodyoids become conscious. And wouldn't that happen with this if they're trying to do this? And then they said, but does that make a difference? What if they were grown not from actual embryos, but from adult stem cells that behave like embryos? What if they're not whole bodies, but only a collection of organs? Isn't this the type of stem cell research that bioethicists were advocating for years ago? So even if bodyoids would be mere spare parts, how many spare parts should we transplant into someone's body and for what reasons? What if somebody needed a brain transplant? right? Is there a number of parts that is too far? Let's say, for the sake of discussion, bodyoids reached the state at which they could replace much or even most of a person's body and were even better parts, possibly delaying or reversing aging. Is that something we even should do? At what point does a quest for health become a quest for immortality? And that's exactly the question. I think a lot of people want to have immortality. There's a lot of those efforts going on. What even is a human body if not the sum of its parts? That is quite the question, right? Behind the desire to have a ready supply of replacement body parts is a strong dose of the modern Gnosticism that divides humans up, body and soul, along with the related assumption that a body is only a human being when conscious or able to feel pain. And that reveals the heart of this biotech crisis. Most Christians, specifically evangelical Protestants, lack the kind of ethical formation to even attempt to answer such questions. If we weren't ready for IVF surrogacy, or the debate around so-called fertility treatments, or the aftermath of birth control pill, and how it taught modern couples to view sex and children, we don't have a prayer on this one. Think about that. The birth control pill completely changed people's mind about casual sex and that kind of thing. Culture is so different today than what it was decades ago. I'm going to skip down. As science fiction style technology accelerates, Christians must get serious about bioethics and the theology of being human. We won't know what to do with brainless bodyoids if we are theology-less brains and bodies. Even worse, we won't have any way to resist that which destroys, exploits, or dehumanizes God's image. Even Stanford authors admitted that the ethical and social issues here are at least as important as the scientific ones, and they should be more important than the scientific ones. Just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done. They don't mean that, at least according to everything else they wrote, but I couldn't agree more. Let's ask the hard questions and pursue God-honoring answers. What a great article. So that's where I got this information. There's a larger battle over humanity's soul and its divine purpose. We have to ask ourselves, actually, I meant to bring this back up, whether these experiments align with darkness or lightness. And these scientific programs, the progress they're making, they're so optimistic about it. And I think they're going unchecked. And we need to start checking them. We need to start talking about these things that they're doing and raising concerns. Are there some benefits? Sure. But we have to not only consider, the ethical implications. I'm losing my words tonight. But the human, the psychological, the spiritual implications. We have to think that through. So are these advancements incredible? Heck yeah. But they're crazy. And could they change the world? Yes, they could. But they also raise huge ethical questions just about life, identity, our place in the world, all of that. So this tree, on my picture here, the DNA, and and the sign. You know, this is like a crossroads that we're at. We're at a crossroads scientifically, technologically, and spiritually. We're at a huge crossroads, actually. So the path that we as humanity chooses, that's going to shape our future, all of our children, our grandchildren, generations to come. So what a wild ride. This was a thought-provoking show. We covered, what did we cover? We covered human organs in animals, connecting mini brains to robots, which is super crazy, creating embryos without sperm or eggs. How is that even possible? Bringing back extinct species. By the way, speaking of bringing back extinct species, I did highlight one thing on this page because you know what word they used here? Resurrection. They used resurrection. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, we also talked about editing human genes, growing babies in artificial wombs with artificial placentas, and making human bodies without brains. I mean, that's what we covered tonight. So if you like this episode, please subscribe. It's free. Give it a thumbs up. And I don't know. I would love you to throw a comment in the video and let me know how you see this from a spiritual perspective versus a scientific perspective, because I know there's some debate on that. I mean, they're making advancements towards curing cancer, and you know, those are good things, and people have personal things they're going through, but we still have to keep those ethics in check. We have to. So I would love to hear if you want to leave a comment. But I think next time I might want to stay on this path of weird science, because it kind of continues like what I was doing when I was talking about the bioweapons. So I think we're going to delve into next week some crazy stuff in healthcare. And yeah, because it's going to have the same things. It's going to have a lot of promise, a lot of concerns, ethics, and spiritual challenges. So I want to thank you all for joining tonight. You know what? All in an attempt to play God. That's right. Oh, that's crazy. Yes, it is an attempt to play God. But anyway, I apologize for being sort of MIA. I'm trying to, my time is starting to open up. And so I'm going to get caught up with you guys on everything. And then we have Meme Wars on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. Yeah. And so I've already done a submission for memes. So join us Saturday morning for coffee and Meme Wars. I'm excited for that with me and Herbie. All right, guys. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time. And see you out on social media, too. Bye.
I can see clear.